We'll go to the Adventurers Guild to inform them of this matter. They picked up the corpses of the high-rank goblins as they left. Even if they didn't have the parts we'd carved off, their carcasses should make for more than enough proof. Okay, if you'll excuse us. Thank you so much. It looks like you saved my life. Thanks. We got some goblin materials and helped some promising youngsters in the process. I'd call that a good day. Let's absorb those crystals. I began absorbing crystals once I was far enough from the newbie adventurers. I already had all the skills the goblins had to offer, but every crystal counted toward my evolution. Plus, they were all really tasty. Could you show me my stats? Alright. I'm throwing it up now. Okay. Name, Fran. Age, 12. Race, Beastman. Black Cat Tribe. Class, Spell Sword. Level, 4. HP, 31. Magic, 29. Strength, 28. Agility, 49. Her stats had gone up quite a bit. Her strength and agility especially, which went up by 4 points per level up. Thanks to her for being a spell sword. I relayed the information to Fran. Good. Yeah, let's keep at it and level up more. Yeah. Fran was so cute when she pumped her fist in the air with a blank expression on her face. Alright, time to go hunting. It had been an hour since we parted ways with the newbie group. We were now neck deep in goblins. Double slash. The skill produced quick diagonal slashes which cut through 2 goblins. Fran is now level 5. I leveled up again. I know, we can check your stats later. I kept blasting the goblins away with magic while Fran's sword arts cut them in 2. There was no end to the horde. I initially thought we would snuff out the goblins for some easy XP, but they kept coming in one after another. There must have been more than 100 of them. We never thought we'd be going up against this many goblins in one day. I might have underestimated the goblin horde through my greed for experience. Their cave must have been nearby. No matter how fast we cut them down, they kept on getting reinforcements. There were even some high-rank goblins mixed in. Incoming! Got it. The goblins have taken the position in the forest and unleashed a hail of rocks and splinters at Fran. They had us completely surrounded. We couldn't possibly dodge all the projectiles. Teacher! I got it. Fire wall. A dome of fire covered Fran, protecting her from the rocks and splinters. But the goblins weren't finished with their assault. They're coming. Right. Fran braced with me in hand, waiting for the flame barrier to dissipate. 10 goblins mobbed Fran, all at the same time. 2 of them jumped the gun, still on fire from charging through the firewall. Heavy slash. She dodged their attacks and swung me in a huge arc to cut through 5 goblins at once. Oh! She couldn't keep dodging the goblins, however, and blood had begun seeping through her armor. A sword cut the tip of her shoulder, and a spear had pierced her back. Fran withstood the sharp pain and kept swinging her sword without missing a beat. I wanted to equip Painkiller, but it had the side effect of dulling her sense of touch. She could end up being less nimble because of it. Fran screamed as she killed her 10th goblin, a sound I didn't hear too often considering her quiet disposition. It joined the mound of 40-odd goblins that she'd slaughtered throughout this battle. Yet, it didn't look like the number of goblins surrounding Fran was decreasing. Great heal! Fran panted heavily. Fran, talk to me. I'm fine, she huffed. Let's get out of here. There's easier way to farm experience. We'd underestimated the fight with the goblins. I was alright since I couldn't feel pain. Even if something chipped my blade, a few moments of self-repair would put me back to normal. I could go up against anything except the strongest of monsters, but it also meant I had no real sense of danger, for better or worse. As much as I wanted to tell Fran something was too dangerous for her, I believed deep down that she'd be fine, so long as she had me around. Which is why we get into this mess with mere goblins. But it was too late for second thoughts. We had healing spells and self-regeneration skills at our disposal. We even had a skill that would prevent us from dying from a would-be fatal attack. We would win this fight if we kept going, but I didn't know how much pain Fran could put up with. She couldn't have been ready for such a difficult battle right out the gate. The last thing I wanted was for this fight to traumatize her. They're coming in hot. There's still time to get out of here. We could maneuver through the air using a combination of float and air hop. Breaking through the goblin ranks should be easy. I'm not going anywhere. Fran, you don't have to be a hero. We can go hunt some big monsters for better experience. This fight is a lost cause. Was she getting stubborn? It's not a lost cause, Fran muttered, bracing herself against me. She had a look of determination on her face. I won't die if you're with me, teacher. I'll take on this pain. That's the only way I can get used to fighting. That's the only way I can get stronger. Fran, the only way to get stronger is to fight to within an inch of my life. This battle is perfect that way. Her lips curled in a savage smile. I had underestimated her. She'd been ready a long time ago. I was the one who wasn't ready. I didn't want to see her hurt. Sure, I could make her stronger. All she had to do was wield me to gain a few levels. But could you call that real strength? No, real strength was a matter of experience and mental fortitude. All the levels in the world were worthless if you'd never actually been in a real fight. Fran understood that. Teacher, you're on support. Her resolve was nothing like mine. I was the one who was raised in air-conditioned Japan. But alright, I've got your back, Fran, and I wouldn't romanticize the whole adventuring business anymore. My user wasn't a weak kitten who needed taken care of. She was a savage cub whose fangs needed teething. Leave the healing to me. Okay, here I go. Fran charged into the heart of the goblin horde. She immediately began swinging her sword. The force of her swing was so great that it split the goblins' helmets along with their heads. The goblins didn't expect such ferocity and speed, and she stabbed them in the hearts before they could react. She was experimenting with her swordsmanship. The surrounding goblins, her test subjects. She wanted to know her limits through this fight. It was more about experience she gained than the number of goblins she killed. She wanted to be stronger, faster, better. Fran cut through every goblin, a picture of her ideal self in the back of her mind. Each kill was a step she took toward evolution. The goblins got a few hits on her at times, however. The pain slowed her down, which created an opening for a goblin to stab her left arm with a spear. A short sword had also cut through her leg. The goblins were just as prepared to die as she was. They bit her, and some even throw the innards of their fallen comrades at her as gruesome clubs. But Fran stood her ground. The goblins' attacks became second nature to her. She'd figured out the methods of the goblins' horde's assault. She did her best not to be bested by the same tricks twice. No matter how many cuts or bruises they inflicted on her, she wouldn't stop moving. Most importantly, she didn't take her attention away from the horde for a second. I could see the resolve in Fran's eyes as I fought with her. I was going to play support until Fran had enough on-ground experience. I would help her with slashes until she adjusted to my weight. But then, I noticed something during the fight. Her movements were becoming quicker. She hadn't used triple thrust, but the speed was roughly equivalent. Again, she launched an attack which was as fast as double slash. No, those slashes were even faster than double slash. I thought she was getting used to using her sword arts, but it looked like she wasn't using them at all. Was that even possible? Her mind and body couldn't have adjusted to a high-level sword mastery in such a short period of time. She had only been fighting weak monsters, and most of the fights were over before it even started, so the problem never actually came up. In an all-out fight to the death, skill and body became as one. Up until now, her sword arm benefited from her instincts and speed. The enemies she faced before this had broadcast their attacks, which made them trivial to dodge. But it was different now. Every time she dodged at the goblin's attacks, the more precise her own attacks became. She was getting rid of the inefficiencies in her movements. Sword and body were now one. The battle showed me how much Fran had grown in both body and spirit in such a short time. 2 hours later. "You did it, Fran." "Yeah." Goblin corpses littered the ground. Blood and entrails soaked the earth. It looked like a scene straight from hell. Fran stood in the middle of it all, struggling to stay upright. There wasn't a scratch on her, thanks to healing magic. Her exhaustion was so great that she heaved a heavy sigh. Her entire body was covered in blood and dirt. There wasn't a clean spot on her. Her newly bought armor was now tinted a reddish brown. Her dress armor was so beat up that we were going to need to fix it right after this. I could have made the fight easier if I had gone on the offensive, but Fran needed this fight. She was only at level 8 now, but the battle experience was invaluable. She had learned to target the goblins' weak points, their crystals, in the middle of the frenzied fight. Stamina heal. I healed her stamina along with her physical wounds, though the spell didn't help much with her mental exhaustion. Get some rest. I'll stay on lookout. I needed to gather up materials and absorb those crystals anyway. I'll help. Are you sure? The sooner we get out of here, the better. I guess you're right. We haven't run into the king yet. We should leave before reinforcements arrive. Yeah. I leave the carving and looting to you. I'll take the crystals. Got it.